and welcome to Silverstone as we approach the halfway point of the 2015 Euroformula Open season around the home of the British Grand Prix. This, the second race of the weekend, and if it's anything like yesterday's, then we have got 15 laps of pure drama and excitement to look forward to. The wide expanses of Silverstone, a very different proposition to the first three stops of the season. So it's a very warm welcome from myself, Ben Evans, to an absolutely glorious day at Silverstone. The air temperature a little bit chilly, but the sun is strong. It's not that breezy, and it is an ideal day for coming to watch some motorsport and enjoy the young chargers of the Euroformula Open in action. Yesterday, we saw Yuki Kanemaru taking his maiden Euroformula Open victory, snatching the lead late on following a mistake from Vitor Baptista. Baptista, finishing second, though, took over the championship lead. And Kanemaru, buoyed by yesterday's result, lines up in pole position. The Japanese driver third in the standings, but closing the gap on Baptista and Konstantin Tereshchenko. Second on the grid for Alessio Rivera. Rivera third in yesterday's race. A race winner already this season in Jerez and still very much in the title fight. Lining up third on the grid, it is Konstantin Tereshchenko. Had a very muted performance en route to 7th place yesterday, but Tereshchenko, thrice a winner already in 2015, will be at the very least looking to get himself back onto the podium, if not winning ways. Fourth on the grid for RP Motorsport, it is Vitor Baptista, who has already had 2 victories to his credit yesterday, but for a mistake coming out of the loop, it would have been 3, but as it was, he finished in second place. Fifth on the grid for his teammate Damiano Fioravanti, the Italian driver, getting increasingly impressive, and he had to get his elbows out en route to a fighting drive for a 6th place finish. 6th on the grid, it is Tanart Sathienthirikul, home race for the Team Westegs squad. Tanart again in thick of the action, as was teammate Yarin Stern. Sathienthirikul claiming 8th at the flag. 7th on the grid for Andres Saravia, one of several drivers to retire from proceedings. A huge spin for Saravia coming through Chapel Curve, putting him out of the race. But until then, he was showing strongly. Campos Racing driver Diego Menchaca knows Silverstone very well from his days in the BRDC Formula 4 Championship, and he had a season best 5th place finish in race 1. Real wild card to look for today. 9th on the grid is going to be Leonardo Pulcini. Qualified superbly well yesterday, but was involved in a first lap collision with Igor Wililko. But the DAV car is looking very quick in race trim. And completing the top 10, it is the Israeli driver Yarin Stern for Team Westech. Still looking for that maiden win, but he will be hoping to get back onto the podium. Lining up in 11th place, it is Igor Wililko for RP Motorsport. And Wililko, the Polish driver, has been impressive this season. So has William Barbosa in the second of the BVM cars. And Barbosa, a regular fixture inside the top 10, always races a little bit better than he qualifies, so watch for the Colombian as he moves up through the field. This then is how they line up in full, with Kanemaru and Rivera on the front row. Then Konstantin Tereshchenko and Vitor Baptista, the 2 championship chargers. On row 2, Damiano Fioravanti and Tanart Sathienthirikul, both wildcards from the 3rd row, and then Andres Saravia and Diego Menchaca will be on the prowl for podiums. Leonardo Pulcini and Yarin Stern could carve through the pack if they can stay out of trouble early on, and then it's Igor Wililko and William Barbosa. Anthony Patak lines up in 14th place, lucky to escape the last lap crash yesterday, where he collided with Enrique Baptista. And it is Baptista who completes the grid. So the grid being cleared as the cars about to be released on to their green flag formation lap. The last opportunity for the drivers to put a little bit of heat into the control compound Michelin tyre, which they run on in the Euroformula Open, which, to explain if you've never seen it before, is ostensibly a Formula 3 championship. All the drivers equipped with the Dallara F312 chassis. They are all propelled by the control engine supplied by the GT Sport organisation. and that helps to keep development costs down and therefore makes the championship very affordable, hence its popularity. The last mechanic heads through the gap in the pit wall, which means the green flag is unfurled, and this is the last opportunity for the drivers to get a sense of the conditions here around the 3-mile Silverstone Grand Prix circuit. Unlike many other championships though, each race at the Euroformula Open has its own discrete qualifying session, so the drivers were out first thing this morning to qualify to set the grid for today's race, and therefore they do have a little bit of a sense of what the track is doing. We haven't had any precipitation overnight, so it has rubbered in nicely as the field pick their way through Maggots and then Beckett's and then down the Hanger Straight. Today a lot less breezy than yesterday, where the drivers were complaining a little bit about crosswinds down the Hanger Straight. Today is a lot stiller, and therefore slipstreaming will become key. And certainly we saw an enormous amount of overtaking in the opening stages of yesterday's race, as one or two drivers struggled to get temperature into their Michelin tires, backing the rest of the field up behind them, and plenty of excitement. So in terms of the championship then, well, it's Vitor Baptista who is leading the way, just a couple of points clear of Konstantin Tereshchenko, with Kanemaru increasingly in the hunt, and a good day for Kanemaru and a muted one for Baptista, and Tereshchenko would make it certainly a three-way title fight as we go into the second half of the season. At the same time, fourth in the standings, Alessio Rivera is staying in touch as well. It's been super to see so many people coming into Silverstone today to watch the action from the Euroformula Open. The car park was looking pretty busy when we arrived at the circuit around about 8:30 this morning. A lot of people enjoying the very friendly paddock atmosphere of the Euroformula Open. So the driver's just heading past the Formula One pits complex. We're using the Heritage pits this weekend, and then through the Abbey and Farm section to the heavy braking zone at Village, one of the key overtaking opportunities, and then again into the left-hander at the loop. Then it's down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands. Again, another potential passing place. There is Andres Saravia, wheel of his RP Motorsport car. Saravia looking to improve on a best finish of the season so far of 5th place, which he achieved in race 2 in Paul Ricard. Saravia just gets a little bit of heat into the tyres. The same for Vitor Baptista at the front of the queue. The start all important here at Silverstone because it's a pretty short run into Copse Corner, and really they only begin to get some breathing space as they head down the Hanger Straight. There's the bright red car of Leonardo Pulcini. I was talking to team principal for the DAV team, Matteo Davenia, last night. He was saying that they are really happy with the pace in the car this weekend. And whilst it was disappointing Pulcini crashed out early on yesterday, they are confident for a good finish today. So it's going to be a 15-lap race. If we do see the intervention of the safety car, we can revert to the 35-minute time limit as cars just finding their place on the grid. It's the black car to the right of your picture. That is you, Kanemaru. The white car with the fluorescent yellow nose cone is the car of Alessio Rivera. The all-white car just behind Kanemaru is Tereshchenko, and the black, grey and orange car is Vitor Baptista. They are the men to watch for as the 5-second board is shown to the drivers. The 8th race of the Euroformula Open season about to get underway. Lights are on, revs rise, and away we go. Who's got the jump? Kanemaru almost stalls it, and so it's Rivera who leads from Tereshchenko into Copse Corner, and Yu Kanemaru has plummeted down to about 10th place as they head through Copse for the first time, and already Tereshchenko looking to take the lead from Rivera as they head towards Beckett, and Tereshchenko looks to go through. Brilliant move from Tereshchenko, but he runs out wide across the asphalt runoff, as does Alessio Rivera. Tereshchenko rejoins in the lead of the race, and that may be looked at because he's arguably gained an advantage as they head down the Hanger Straight for the first time. It's Tereshchenko from Vitor Baptista, and then Andres Saravia in 3rd position. 4th is Rivera, 5th is Fioravanti, 6th is Yu Kanemaru as they sprint onwards. Meanwhile, Pulcini is in the middle of the West Tech cars, all of whom jostle for position to the heavy braking zone at the Vale, and there's Pulcini powering past Diego Menchaca with Sathyanthirikul and Stern looking to do much the same thing. Out front, though, it's Tereshenko who leads the way from Baptista, Saravia and Rivera. There is Menchaca being harried by Sathyanthirikul and Stern. They've got Igor Wililko just behind them. Giu Kanemaru looks to recover from that wretched getaway. Lively stuff as they head into the loop. That's going to be a little bit close between Wililko and Stern, and there's contact, and Yaron Stern gets elbowed aside. He will rejoin, possibly, as he heads a long way off-road for eventually rejoining towards the rear of the field. So Tereshenko leading the pack through Luffield towards the end of the first lap of the race. We've got somebody who's gone off very wide at Brooklands. It's one of the RP cars. I think that's possibly Wililko or Patak, as Alexei Chuklin goes wheel to wheel with Enrique Baptista, pushing up from the rear of the field. Drivers all know it's these early stages which present the best opportunity to make a little bit of ground up. So they're all safely through the first lap. Tereshenko leads from Baptista, Saravia and Rivera. We're currently looking a little bit lower down the order in the fight for 11th place, headed by Igor Wililko. Then it's Ahmad Al-Ghanem, Enrique Baptista. Meanwhile, here is the fight at the front, as Vitor Baptista coming onto terms with Konstantin Tereshenko, Alessio Rivera and Giu Kanemaru, both lining up for a move on Andres Saravia. And this is almost a carbon copy of race 2 in Estoril, which was Tereshenko. Baptista breaking clear as Rivera looked for a very late move on Saravia into the Vale. Had to back out of it at the last moment, but they're all bottled up behind the Guatemalan driver, Andres Saravia. And now Kanemaru in the black car challenges the white machine of Rivera. Rivera moves to the inside of the road into Abbey. Kanemaru can't quite force his way past, and that suddenly brings Damiano Fioravanti into the mix, and Fioravanti thinks about the move into Village, and indeed darts past, gains the place on Giu Kanemaru, and Leonardo Pulcini sees space as well to the inside at the loop. Has Kanemaru seen Pulcini? Yes, he has, and they give each other plenty of room, as now Giu Kanemaru looks to line up the move on Fioravanti down the Wellington Straight. Here's another look at the start. Kanemaru left stranded until row 2 have gone past him, and recovered well thereafter. This was the run through Beckett's for the first time, and Tereshenko, well, at the moment, no word as to whether that's under investigation. He certainly kept his foot in as the car snapped sideways. So through they come into another lap, and Kanemaru did repass Fioravanti. There's the evidence of it, as Menchaca runs a little bit wide in 8th place. So the order is Tereshenko from Baptista, then Saravia from Alessio Rivera, Giu Kanemaru, Damiano Fioravanti, Leonardo Pulcini, Diego Menchaca, Tanat Sathyanthirikul, with William Barbosa completed the top 10, as now Vitor Baptista lines up the pass on Tereshenko. They draw side by side into Stowe Corner, as Tereshenko's got the inside line. He does the block manoeuvre, but Baptista carries more pace out. Tereshenko, however, has the inside line for the Vale. Who feels bravest on the brakes? It's Baptista. He tries to force his way past, but we have seen time and time again this year that Konstantin Tereshenko is a very adept defensive driver, and Vitor Baptista couldn't quite overhaul him. But you can see as the pair of them fight, Andres Saravia and the rest of them look to make this a big train of cars fighting for the lead, because all weekend Konstantin Tereshenko would appear to have struggled a little bit for race pace in the Campos Racing car, as Kanemaru lines up the pass on Rivera. Nothing doing through the loop. Instead, Giu Kanemaru will focus on the exit speed and getting into the tow behind the BVM car. And Giu Kanemaru forces Rivera defensive very early on the Wellington Straight. And Giu Kanemaru in the Emilio de Villota Motorsport entry goes around the outside of Alessio Rivera up into 4th place for Kanemaru. And what you would really like now is for Tereshenko and Baptista to start having a real tussle at the front of the field and slowing them all down. Here's another look at how the move begun to be set up, pressurising Rivera into taking a slightly defensive line into the loop, and therefore able to power past Rivera, now coming under immediate pressure from Damiano Fioravanti. And Lino Pulcini not too far adrift. Meanwhile, Vitor Baptista has got his RP Motorsport car beautifully hooked up through Beckett, and he's going to be right onto terms with Tereshenko as they head down the hangar straight for the 4th of 15 times. You can barely see Baptista. He's tucked underneath the rear wing of Tereshenko. Is he going to be quite close enough to challenge the Russian driver on the brakes into Stowe? No, he's not. Fioravanti, though, certainly trying to find a way around Alessio Rivera. Doesn't quite work. So he'll get on the brakes into the Vale. Fioravanti confident with the braking distance, but Rivera sticks to the racing line. So Baptista still harrying Tereshenko, and as the pair of them don't really get embroiled in battle, it means they ease away from Andres Saravia, who has now got Yu Kanemaru right underneath his rear wing. Is Baptista close enough to challenge into the village? Yes, he is. Baptista to the inside of Tereshenko. The Russian driver will have the inside line for the loop. He forces Baptista to the outside, then just slows it down through the apex so that Vitor Baptista can't get the advantage heading on to the Wellington Straight. But Tereshenko moves across immediately to the inside. Baptista draws alongside him. The heat haze shimmers off the cars as they head down onto the braking zone for Brooklands, and still Tereshenko maintains the lead. But our timing screen tells us that Tereshenko is under investigation. Meanwhile, we've got this fantastic fight as well for 3rd place, headed by Andres Saravia. Saravia, who's been on the podium once before in the Euroformula Open. That came last summer at the Hungaro Ring. Will have his work cut out as Kanemaru pounces into Kopp's corner and goes past. Lovely move from Yu Kanemaru. And now immediately Saravia has got Alessio Rivera trying a brave one. Draws alongside into Maggots, and Rivera is going to go past. Fantastic driving from Alessio Rivera to take full advantage of the slipstream, and that's a super high-speed entry into Beckett's, and Rivera keeping his commitment and moving up into 4th place. So down the hangar straight, and still Tereshenko defending from Baptista as now Saravia comes under pressure from teammate Damiano Fioravanti. Tereshenko doesn't have to defend from Vitor Baptista into the Vale, but the really interesting dynamic here is going to be whether or not Yu Kanemaru, who set pole position for this race this morning and was a good 0.3 of a second quicker than his rivals, if Kanemaru can close the gap down to Tereshenko and Baptista, we could be in for one of the races of the season, because we've got the top 4 in the championship in the first 4 positions in this race. And we're only on lap 5 of 15. This will take us through to 1/3 race distance as Baptista snatches the brakes into the loop and is immediately into the clutches of Yu Kanemaru. And it's the section Village, the loop entry onto Wellington Straight, where Baptista has been inconsistent in yesterday's race and again today. And it means that Kanemaru thinks about the move into Brooklands. But it'll be interesting to see what instructions are being given to Baptista and Kanemaru, because if they fight between themselves, that will give Tereshenko the opportunity to break clear and be set fair for a 4th victory of the season. So they come out of Woodcote and sprint along towards Kopp's corner. Tereshenko's lead over Vitor Baptista goes out to almost 0.9 of a second. But Baptista a little bit quicker than Tereshenko through Kopp's corner. Appear to have closed it down by 1/10 or so already this lap, and it's through Beckett's where Baptista is breathtaking. He's got the RP Motorsport car beautifully hooked up, and the same as well for teammate Damiano Fioravanti. It means that onto the hangar straight, Baptista is immediately back onto terms with Tereshenko. Is he going to be close enough to challenge Tereshenko? He thinks about it, tries to sell in the dummy, and commits to the move around the outside at Stowe. Gets into the marbles, but draws on. Oh, they make contact! Somehow they keep going, and again Tereshenko defends very robustly from Vitor Baptista. Hopefully that was just side-to-side contact and there was no damage. As they head out of Club Corner, now Tereshenko having to work very hard to keep both Baptista and Kanemaru at bay. Alessio Rivera looking to join in as well. And this is Slicks and Wings single-seater racing at its very, very best as Kanemaru tries to launch around the outside of Vitor Baptista into Village. The top four in the championship running in the top four places in the race. They are separated by about 2 seconds, possibly even a little bit less than that, as they head down the Wellington Straight for the 6th time. On the brakes into Brooklands, and Kanemaru goes for the move and snatches second place away from Vitor Baptista, and Baptista couldn't quite close the door in time, so it's now Kanemaru who's going to take his turn to challenge Konstantin Tereshchenko as he accelerates through Woodcote Corner. And this is absolutely brilliant racing. Silverstone always suits these cars. And it's been close, competitive, but clean so far. As running a little bit wide there, Vitor Baptista, possibly caught in the turbulent air behind Kanemaru. And that hurts Baptista through Beckett. So just wonder whether or not Baptista, because these cars are set up to such fine margins, just had something knocked out of alignment in that contact with Tereshchenko, because he doesn't seem quite as confident through the quicker corners as he was a lap ago. In 5th place, it's Andres Saravia. 6th is Leonardo Pulcini. 7th, Tanart Sathian Thirakel. 8th is Diego Menchaca. 9th, William Barbosa, and Enrique Baptista currently completes the top 10 as Kanemaru gets a little bit squirrely on the brakes. They head around Club Corner and pick up the throttle, sprinting towards Abbey. There is the Campos Racing team. They watch from the pit wall. It's 4 different teams in the top 4 places, all in the hunt for the title as we get on the brakes into Village once more. A lick of flame from Rivera on the downshift. Now, we saw last time through, Kanemaru was so strong on the brakes into Brooklands. Will he be able to do the same again in pursuit of Tereshchenko, who punches the hole in the air? It allows Kanemaru to get in the tow behind the Russian driver, and Kanemaru is close enough, and he looks to dart to the inside. He couldn't quite do it. He needed to have gone for that a metre or two earlier, as the point at which he drew alongside Tereshchenko, lightning reflexes, just moved across and took the entry to the corner a little bit earlier. This is formidable pressure being applied to Konstantin Tereshchenko, because he's got to make the running. He can't overly defend, because that will just bottle up the field behind him. But at the same time, he has got a couple of arguably slightly quicker cars. We're yet to have a double, or a clean sweep rather, of a race weekend so far this season. Kanemaru could do it this weekend at Silverstone, but he has the wobble midway through Beckett's, and that is going to leave him vulnerable to a challenge, possibly from Vitor Baptista as they head down the Hangar Straight. We're pretty much at exactly halfway through the race as they turn through Stowe. Kanemaru just gathers up his rhythm, looking to mount a renewed charge on Konstantin Tereshchenko. They all, Konstantin, are up on the brakes into the Vale. The other element, of course, here is going to be tyre wear, and whether or not they're just beginning to ask a little bit more of those Michelin tyres than perhaps they ought to be so early on in the race. As Baptista gets back into his stride. All the while, though, Tereshchenko in control out front. The fastest lap of the race, by the way, has been set by Yarin Stern. Stern currently in 12th place, well outside the points. As Kanemaru again looks to get into the tow behind Konstantin Tereshchenko down the Wellington Straight. Just 7 to go at the conclusion of this one, and Kanemaru not even close enough to force some defensive manoeuvres from Tereshchenko, this time into Brooklands. But sometimes that's a better tactic. What you want to do if you're caught behind a car for a prolonged period is just think about where you can surprise them. So the leading quartet just a little bit more strung out on this occasion as Rivera gets dropped, as Tereshchenko doesn't have to defend. It's only really Kanemaru and Baptista who've got the pace to stay with them. It's the turn of Anthony Patak now to have the fastest lap of the race. It's the team watcher in the pit wall. It's Emilio de Vallota, centre of your picture, as he watches his charge, Yu Kanemaru, down the hanger straight. Kanemaru not going to be close enough to challenge Tereshenko on this occasion. Tereshenko remains under investigation. We haven't had any update as to the outcome of that. Kanemaru just a little bit more confident than Tereshenko, arguably on the brakes, whereas Vitor Baptista slithers a little bit wide at Vale. That detaches him from the leading duo. It means that Alessio Rivera suddenly gets immediately onto terms with the Brazilian. And that could be good news for Yu Kanemaru, because it just releases him to focus a little bit more on what's going on in front of him, rather than if he's at risk of being passed from behind. So Baptista defends from Rivera, but this is the section of the circuit where Kanemaru is so strong. Can he get the exit from the loop? He uses the curb and accelerates through entry onto the Wellington straight. And Kanemaru, I suspect, might just be close enough to challenge. This time around, they head down the Wellington straight. Kanemaru closes up onto the tail of Tereshenko and goes for the move. But again, Tereshenko covers it just in time. And really, Kanemaru needs to just be that half a car length closer to Tereshenko as they reach the midpoint of the Wellington straight to mount the challenge. But the irrepressible pace of the leading duo, as Konstantin Tereshenko sets his personal best lap of the race, has allowed them to ease a second or so clear of Vitor Baptista. So the car's climbing into Beckett's, and again, Yu Kanemaru right behind Tereshenko. He's got to be careful, in fact, not to overcommit here, Kanemaru. He needs to focus on the exit from Chapel Curve onto the hanger straight. Here's another look then at the collision a few laps ago between Baptista and Tereshenko, as Kanemaru closes up onto the tail of Konstantin Tereshenko into Stowe corner. And the white Campos car of Tereshenko just sticks to the racing line. He's making Yu Kanemaru do all the hard work. At the same time, Kanemaru just quite content to sit behind Konstantin Tereshenko. The Russian driver leads from the front at the moment, because we've still got over a third of the race remaining. Turning through Abbey. And Tereshenko, if he gets a good run through farm, might be close enough to challenge into Village here. He sells Tereshenko the dummy and launches to the inside. And can he go through? As Tereshenko sticks it out around the outside and therefore has the inside line for the loop. But Kanemaru carries the pace out of the loop onto the Wellington straight. This could well be the lap for Kanemaru, as Tereshenko knows that he moves defensive early on. So does Vitor Baptista. It means Kanemaru looks to the outside line into Brooklands. Who's bravest on the brakes? Kanemaru tries to challenge. He goes around the outside at Brooklands, but has he run out of road? Yes, he has, and Tereshenko maintains the lead of the race. Vitor Baptista holds on to third place. And suddenly it crackles back into life again, as this cat-and-mouse battle at the front of the field continues as we're into lap 11 through Copse Corner. Kanemaru launching another raid as he closes up in the tow behind Konstantin Tereshenko. But again, Kanemaru carrying the speed this time very nicely through Beckett. That will give him a good run, he would hope, out of Chapel Curve onto the hanger straight. And Vitor Baptista, being pushed along by Alessio Rivera, was substantially quicker than the leading duo last time through, so he is closing back in. The outcome, by the way, of the investigation for Tereshenko is just a warning flag for track limits, as Baptista ran very, very wide at the back of your picture and is under pressure from Alessio Rivera. And Rivera goes around the outside of Baptista into third place at Club Corner. And we saw at Stowe, just in the back of the shot, that Baptista ran wide and Rivera up into the final podium position. It means the leading duo detached, but look at Baptista, he fights back into Abbey, he's got the inside line and forces his way back through. Great stuff from Vitor Baptista to reclaim third position. And now Damiano Fioravanti and Andres Saravia join the mix as well, as Baptista pushes Rivera out wide. It's Saravia just behind, and then we have got Pulcini and Sathian Thirikul. He's got a 5-car train for third place, which is now truly detached for the battle for the lead of the race. And Rivera again wants to challenge Baptista. Baptista determined to hold on to a podium finish if he possibly can. We have got a plethora of warning flags for track limits being held out to the drivers. As they flash through, just 4 to go now, and Kanemaru closing up once more onto the tail of Tereshenko as Pulcini looks to the inside of Saravia. Here are the leading duo through Beckett's again. Tereshenko just getting a little bit of movement now as he dances on that razor's edge where the aerodynamic grip begins to go away. Baptista also a little bit wide on the exit, Beckett's. Down the hanger straight, and Tereshenko can see that Kanemaru is coming. Is Kanemaru close enough to challenge? No, he's not. Just tries to sell the dummy nonetheless. The pair of them heading through towards the Vale, and the intensity of concentration with the physical buffeting that these drivers get is really quite something. They're right at the top of their game, running like this lap upon lap, nose to tail, nothing to choose between them. So the leaders turn through Abbey. What about the fight for third? Here it comes as Vito Baptista has got Rivera and Saravia asking all the right questions. Pulcini looks to join in as well through Farm as Kanemaru challenged Tereshenko into Village. Saravia receives the same challenge from Pulcini. That brings Sathian Thirikul into the mix as Pulcini to the inside. Saravia, they give each other racing room. And that's really smart driving from Andres Saravia. He loses 2 places, but he avoided an incident as now Rivera draws alongside Baptista. Kanemaru looks to do the same thing to Konstantin Tereshenko. So, not finding a way through as Kanemaru. Finding a way past is Rivera, or does he? He's pushed onto the grass by Vitor Baptista, and Rivera runs out wide, and it's Pulcini who takes 4th place now. We said he was going to come through the field, and that's exactly what happens. So Vitor Baptista defending through Brooklands. It was Rivera who was hung out to dry around the outside. He looks to challenge Pulcini back into Copse Corner. He can't quite do it. And is there damage there to Rivera's front wing? It looked as if it was drooping just a little bit. It's not really slowing him down as Saravia looks to re-challenge Sathian Thirikul. As a result of all this, of course, Leonardo Pulcini is now the top rookie in the race as well. So we've got just 3 laps to go, and Tereshenko has built a little bit of daylight over Yu Kanemaru. Vitor Baptista the same in 3rd as Pulcini weaves his way down the hanger straight. Andres Saravia looks to do much the same to keep Diego Menchaca at bay. So the order is Tereshenko from Kanemaru, Vitor Baptista, Leonardo Pulcini, Alessio Rivera, Talant Sathian Thirikul, Andres Saravia, Diego Menchaca, William Barbosa, and Yarin Stern. Whether or not it will stay like that until the conclusion of the race, we shall see. Well, there is Sathian Thirikul. And yes, definitely damage to Rivera's front wing. You can see it just grinding off the track surface under heavy braking. And that's a great pity for Rivera, as if he loses several places, that really does give him something of an uphill task into the second half of the championship. So we are at the conclusion of the 13th lap of the race. Now, what, if anything, has Yu Kanemaru got left in his locker to try and overhaul Tereshenko? It's been a very good lap again from Konstantin Tereshenko. It was 2/10 between the Russian and Kanemaru at the start of the lap. That has opened up a little bit at the end of it. It's out to 0.6 of a second. And heading into the penultimate lap, that might be enough for Konstantin Tereshenko. 3rd place, Vito Baptista. 4th, Pulcini. 5th is still under dispute, as Yaron Stern hopes to try and win himself a couple more points as well. His next target is William Barbosa, and again, Barbosa featuring strongly up inside the top 10. Down the hanger straight, Kanemaru not close enough to challenge Konstantin Tereshenko. That will will have to be some last lap heroics, and just the gaps beginning to open to that half a second or thereabouts variety amongst the leading group of cars. That's when they struggle to really apply the pressure under heavy braking. So Barbosa, the driver most likely to move up the order, as now Kanemaru comes back onto turns with Tereshenko as they arrive into Abbey. And Kanemaru, he's got a lap and a half to try and overhaul the Russian as Tereshenko runs a bit wide through Farm. Kanemaru looks to the outside at Village. He can't, though, play that into the inside line for the loop. Instead, he will look for the switchback. Tereshenko scrubs off the apex speed as best he can, but Kanemaru gets on the throttle nice and early, gets into the tow behind the Russian driver. Down the Wellington straight, Tereshenko moves to the inside to cover the line nice and early. Kanemaru looks to the outside and thinks about fighting it, and Kanemaru continues around the outside, but again he runs out of road, and Tereshenko keeps hold of the lead of the race. Brilliant, brilliant racing. A rueful shake of the head from Emiliano de Vallota as we have got just one lap remaining. This has been one of the best races from the Euroformula Open that we have seen in the past few seasons. Fantastic wheel-to-wheel dicing. Front of the field at Silverstone. But who will win it? Will it be Kanemaru? Will it be Tereshenko? The Russian driver took the lead early on, and thereafter has withstood everything that's been thrown at him. But Kanemaru, we have seen time and time again, is very confident on the brakes, and he closes up to the gearbox of the Russian driver down the hanger straight into Stowe Corner. Kanemaru doesn't look to challenge here. In fact, he runs a little bit wide, and that may open up enough of a buffer for Tereshenko, at least into the Vale. Indeed it does. Just 1.5 miles of racing remains. Kanemaru, maximum concentration, the same for Konstantin Tereshenko. And Tereshenko has driven with absolute unflappability. He has mounted a very impressive defensive drive as he has been under sustained pressure throughout the race, and he's now only got one more heavy braking zone to survive, and that is into Brooklands. Can Kanemaru get close enough? He's not near enough, though, as they turn through the loop, as they accelerate onto the Wellington straight. Tereshenko, I think, has got enough here because Kanemaru is too far back. He's about 4 car lengths adrift as they are midway down the Wellington straight. The Campos team know it. Nervous smiles, and yes, as they turn into Brooklands for the final time, Kanemaru cannot challenge Konstantin Tereshenko, who heads into the final turn at Luffield. And Tereshenko, I think, is going to win it. It's going to be his 4th victory of the season. He will reclaim the lead of the Euroformula Open Championship, and Tereshenko takes a fantastic win at Silverstone from Yu Kanemaru in 2nd place, and 3rd goes the way of Vitor Baptista, with Leonardo Pulcini winning the rookie class in 4th from Alessio Rivera. The top 6 completed by Tanat Sathi and Thirikul. Andres Saravia in 7th, and Diego Menchaca, the 3rd rookie, in 8th place. An utterly brilliant, brilliant race in the Euroformula Open. That was Formula 3 racing at its very, very best. It was clean, it was close, it was competitive. We didn't have any instance during the course of the race. There were 1 or 2 moments where it got a little bit too close for comfort, but certainly in a week where there has been much discussion about driving standards in junior formula, that is how it should be done. And Konstantin Tereshenko should rightly be extremely proud of that performance as he heads around to Parc Ferme. So it's a win that gives Tereshenko the championship lead as we hit the halfway point of the Euroformula Open season. It's been a very, very strong weekend for Yu Kanemaru. For Vitor Baptista, potentially a case of what might have been. He's been on the podium in both races, but he could have potentially challenged for the wins. So let's have a look then at the classification then. Konstantin Tereshenko winning it and sets the fastest lap of the race on the final lap of the race. That is impressive. Yu Kanemaru in 2nd place. Vitor Baptista completes the rostrum. Leonardo Pulcini, the top rookie, a fine fourth the DAV Racing team, with Rivera in fifth. The third of the rookie drivers, Diego Menchaca, an excellent eighth place, just ahead of William Barbosa, who completes a very strong weekend for the BVM team. Enrique Baptista just outside the points, 11th, and Damiano Fioravanti faded down to 12th. Ahead of Anthony Patak, Alexei Chuklin, Ahmed Al-Ghanem, Jose Manuel Villalta and Igor Walilko. So in terms of the championship then, Tereshchenko leads the way, 8 points his advantage over Vitor Baptista, with Yu Kanemaru still in the mix. For Alessio Rivera, of course, it's mathematically possible, but it's going to be a big ask for the Italian. I think the crowd will have thoroughly enjoyed that. What more could you really ask for? A beautiful summer's day and some incredibly close racing from the Euroformula Open. Well, Yu Kanemaru couldn't quite make it the double at Silverstone, but nonetheless, that has been the Japanese driver's strongest weekend of the year to date and sets him up very nicely for the second half of the year. For Tereshchenko and Campos Racing, yesterday was a day of disappointment. Today, a day of triumph, having clearly worked very hard to get the setup of the car sorted. And Tereshchenko, overjoyed with that, does the nose stand and will, I'm sure, head off to celebrate with the Campos team. Well, there are the congratulations for Konstantin Tereshchenko. Handshakes with the whole of the Campos Racing squad. The Russian driver will be overjoyed with that and enjoys the spoils of victory. Well, a couple of talking points there. Certainly, on a couple of occasions, Tereshchenko had to be stout in his defence, but nonetheless, by and large, it was a very clean race, very competitive. Yu Kanemaru will be disappointed. He had the pace on Tereshchenko, but he couldn't find a way past him. And for Vitor Baptista in third position. Again, just those tiny mistakes at the loop, costing him in both races this weekend. So we will very shortly be able to hear from our race winner, Konstantin Tereshchenko, before he heads up on to the rostrum. You can see hot and hard work. Congratulations as well from teammate Menchaca.
Konstantin Tereshchenko, very nice victory after a strong fight. Huh?
Yeah, we start in the grid in the position third, and I'm really happy to win. It's my car. It's perfect in the race, but in the quali we have a little mistake. But in the race, I'm really happy to the setup for the car and for my engineer. It's really good.
And it's very good for the championship, so thank you, well done. Podium now.
So very happy, Konstantin Tereshchenko. And he will be celebrating on the podium in a couple of moments' time. Let's take a look back at the highlights of an absolutely thrilling race. It was Alessio Rivera who got the lead into Copse Corner after Kanemaru was slow away from the line. Tereshchenko and Rivera both getting it wrong at Beckett's. And Tereshchenko emerging in the lead of the race from Vitor Baptista. Baptista then hunted down Tereshchenko as Kanemaru put together an excellent recovery drive. He was as low as 10th in the early stages, but some brave passing manoeuvres saw the Japanese climbing up through the order. Baptista took his turn to challenge Tereshchenko. They made contact coming out of Stowe, and that was enough possibly just to knock the Brazilian driver's car a little bit out of alignment, because thereafter he struggled somewhat as Kanemaru was able to sneak past at Brooklands. Behind there was some frenetic fighting for third place. They kept it clean, but it was very tight. As Baptista had to mount a robust defence of Alessio Rivera. That allowed Leonardo Pulcini to sneak through. At the front of the field, though, Tereshchenko and Kanemaru lap upon lap run nose to tail, but it was Tereshchenko who emerged to take victory after a stunning defensive drive, setting the fastest lap of the race on the final lap. Kanemaru was second, Vito Baptista completed the podium, and Leonardo Pulcini took rookie honours. Jubilant Konstantin Tereshchenko takes his place on the top step of the Silverstone rostrum. The Russian national anthem rings out in honour of Konstantin Tereshchenko. An utterly fantastic performance from all three drivers on the rostrum, but it's Tereshchenko and Campos Racing who have prevailed after both Kanemaru and Vito Baptista gave it their very, very best shot to overhaul the Russian drivers. So on to the presentations of the trophies. In third place, Vito Baptista, runner-up Kanemaru. Be disappointed after the start, but he recovered fantastically well. And Tereshchenko receives the handshake, hoists the trophy aloft. And the same for Campos Racing. It's the huge cheer of the mechanics down in the pit lane. So the drivers will quickly pose for the photos. And then may well make merry with the champagne, because we are next in action with the Euroformula Open, the first weekend of July, the 4th and 5th of July. We are at the Red Bull Ring, the first visit for several seasons for the Euroformula Open, and that promises to be a very entertaining weekend of racing. For now, three title protagonists, Tereshchenko, Baptista and Kanemaru, celebrate at Silverstone. It's going to be an excellent second half to the season. Have our drivers from the rookie group to be announced onto the podium. Well, for Leonardo Pulcini, disappointment yesterday with that first lap crash. Disappointment in qualifying this morning, but thereafter he drove through very strongly. So third rookie driver was Diego Menchaca, once more on the rookie rostrum. Second place to Alessio Rivera, who I think will be disappointed with fifth overall. He could have been on the rostrum. And Leonardo Pulcini, the rookie trophy winner, and fourth overall for JV Racing. The Italian national anthem for Leonardo Pulcini. All three drivers involved in a thrilling fight for third position. So we move on to the presentation of the trophy first of all for Diego Menchaca. Runner-up, Alessio Rivera. And our top rookie driver then, Leonardo Pulcini. Pulcini receives the trophy and hoists it aloft. So as the drivers are about to pose for the photos on the Silverstone rostrum, it means it's time for myself, Ben Evans, to say thanks for joining us this weekend at Silverstone. We'll see you at the start of July at the Red Bull Ring.